This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
House Republicans pass a temporary spending bill. Now it's up to the Senate. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
President Trump has pulled back his threat of doubling steel and aluminum tariffs on Canada. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The Education Department plans to lay off over 1,300 of its more than 4,000 employees. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
Responding to speculation surrounding Medicare cuts.
If we turn off this gigantic money magnet.
I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, more ugly stocks selling on recession fears. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
President Donald Trump has just bought a new red Tesla.
Number one, it's a great product.
I'm Donna Warder.
Tiger Woods is out with another injury. I'm Geffen Coolbaugh.
All ahead on America in the Morning. House Republicans pass a continuing resolution that will fund the government through the end of September. The Senate must vote on that bill, which does not address Social Security or Medicare, and securing the 60 votes needed to avoid a partial government shutdown this weekend is far from certain, including from at least one member of the Senate GOP. John Stolnis has the latest from Washington.
After yesterday afternoon's strict party line vote, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson praised the work of his colleagues.
It freezes funding. It's a responsible thing to do. And we're ensuring that troops continue to get their paychecks and TSA agents continue to do their work and be paid. And essential workers on the border and elsewhere are doing their jobs.
All but one Republican, Kentucky's Thomas Massie, voted in favor, and all but one Democrat, Maine's Jared Golden, voted against it. Speaker Johnson criticized Democrats' refusal to pass the temporary spending measure.
We did our job today, and it's shameful that they will stop at nothing. They will suggest that this bill is something that it's not, and they will run out the clock to shut down the government in a desperate attempt to stop the America First agenda.
A number of House Republicans reluctantly voted in favor of the bill, based in large part on pressure placed by Donald Trump, who after the bill called it a big win for Republicans and America on Truth Social. Passage in the Senate is far from certain, however, and Speaker Johnson noted a number of Democrats will have to vote for it to avoid a government shutdown Friday at midnight.
And it falls on the desk of Chuck Schumer. He is the leader of the Democrats on that side, and he must determine whether he wants to fund the government, do the responsible thing, or whether he wants to shut the government down.
House Democrat Peter Aguilar encouraged Senate Democrats not to vote for the CR.
I wouldn't expect senators to vote for this. This is a bad bill. We did not negotiate this bill. They did not negotiate this bill. They should vote no. In the interest of our national security, in the interest of American families.
The bill does not address Social Security and Medicare, which are automatically funded and not reviewed by Congress. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Democrats worried this bill gives President Trump and Elon Musk's Doge team too much leeway to make changes to those entitlement programs.
He said most of the federal spending is entitlements, so that's the big one to eliminate. Eliminate.
At least 8 Democratic senators would need to vote in favor of the bill to overcome the 60-vote threshold. Republicans control 53 seats. However, Republican Rand Paul said he will vote against the measure. John Stolnis, Washington.
Following a meeting between the Premier of Ontario Province and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Canada backed off on new electricity tariffs for the U.S., and Donald Trump orders a halt to doubling steel and aluminum tariffs against Canada. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the impact helped to slow another Wall Street slide.
It needs to end. That's why I've been crystal clear. Until these tariffs are off the table, until the threat of tariffs is gone for good, Ontario will not relent.
President Trump has pulled back his threat of doubling steel and aluminum tariffs on Canada. It's the latest dizzying twist in the president's trade war with America's northern neighbor. This morning, the president said he'd double the tariffs to 50% starting tomorrow. That was after Ontario Premier Doug Ford planned to boost a surcharge on electricity sold to the U.S. But hours later,
He's not going to do that. And it would have been a very bad thing if he did.
Ford pulled down the threat, telling CTV it came after talking with Trump's commerce chief.
We have both agreed let cooler heads prevail.
The president's trade advisor now says doubling of the steel and aluminum tariffs is off the table for now, though 25% tariffs will start tomorrow.
The president is, again, responding to the fact that Canada has been ripping off the United States of America and hardworking Americans for decades. If you look at the rates of tariffs across the board that Canadians have been imposing on the American people and our workers here, it is egregious.
The drama has led to sharp stock market drops and fears of a recession. But
I don't see it at all.
The president says tariffs are vital for changing the American economy, even if the stock market goes on a ride as a result.
We're going to take in hundreds of millions of dollars in tariffs, and we're going to become so rich, you're not going to know where to spend all that money, I'm telling you.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Major change coming to the Department of Education when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning, beginning in the West. Let's get the national forecast update. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A deep storm over the eastern Pacific will make its way onto the shores of the West Coast today, signaling the start of a rather wide-ranging heavy rain and snow event lasting through Thursday. Today's heaviest rain is likely to start over coastal southern Oregon and northern California before spreading farther inland to the foothills of the Sierra Nevada and northern parts of the Central Valley, with extremely heavy snow developing over the mountains themselves. Through Thursday, the snow will be measured in feet over the highest peaks of the Sierra, with at least 2 to 4 feet of snow expected above 5,000 feet of elevation. Regarding the rain, the aforementioned Sierra foothills, mainly to the north of Interstate 80, are expected to end up with at least 2 to 4 inches of rain, as are northern parts of the Central Coast, with a broader zone of an inch or two of rain likely including cities such as Sacramento, San Francisco, and even Los Angeles. The day's other main story for precipitation is the emerging risk of severe weather as a storm pushes out of the southwest. This disturbance will kick up afternoon thunderstorms that may turn severe from northeastern Texas into eastern Oklahoma, far southern Missouri, most of Arkansas, and much of northern Louisiana, bringing the risk for strong winds and even some hail. Most other places in the nation will remain dry today as warm air stays in place over much of the plains, Midwest, and South. A cold front brushes back some of the warmth over portions of the Northeast, and a minor feature may even touch off some rain or snow showers from western New York into mainly southern New England. But most of the story for today will be widespread 70s and even some 80s as temperatures remain well above historical averages. In Laredo, Texas, expect sunshine and hot conditions with a high near the record of 99 from 2023. For Syracuse, New York, it's a much colder day with increasing clouds and some late day or evening rain and snow, the high 45. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Some big changes at the Department of Education, with nearly half of all workers expected to lose their jobs before the week is over. Lisa Dwyer reports.
The Education Department plans to lay off over 1,300 of its more than 4,000 employees as part of a reorganization that's seen as a prelude to President Donald Trump's plan to shut down the agency. The layoffs are part of a dramatic downsizing directed by Trump as he moves to reduce the footprint of the federal government. After she was confirmed by the Senate last week, Education Secretary Linda McMahon told employees to brace for profound cuts. The department has now sent an email to employees telling them that the Washington headquarters and regional offices will be closed Wednesday with access forbidden before reopening on Thursday. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
The Trump administration is insisting it won't cut Medicare or Social Security following comments made by Elon Musk that drew some concerns. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
In a recent report, the Congressional Budget Office said that Republicans would have to cut Medicaid if the White House realistically wants to achieve its goal of eliminating $2 trillion in federal spending over the next decade. This week on Fox Business, Elon Musk, the head of DOGE, the agency in charge of cutting spending, said cutting entitlements would save a lot.
Most of the federal spending is entitlements. So That's like the big one to eliminate. That's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $700 billion a year.
He also called that a mechanism used by Democrats surrounding illegal immigrants.
By essentially paying them to come here and then turning them into voters.
Yes.
So this is why the Democrats are so upset about the situation, because they're losing. If we turn off this gigantic money magnet for illegal immigrants, then they will leave.
The White House responded to questions about Musk's comments, insisting, as it has before, that President Trump will not cut Social Security or Medicare benefits. The administration says that Musk's comments were about fraud, noting government findings of waste and fraud in entitlement programs. I'm Clayton Neville.
Stock market update, and airline creates angry flyers over new charges. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger has the Wednesday update.
Wall Street opens this morning after a plunge for stocks and then a little bit of a recovery when word came trade talks could happen between the U.S. and Canada and a ceasefire could happen in Ukraine.
I'll tell you, if those two good developments, perhaps a stand down on the Canadian tariffs and hopefully a ceasefire in Ukraine, if they hadn't come up, I think we would have had another 1,000-point drop.
That's Wharton professor Jeremy Siegel on CNBC. The Dow yesterday only fell 478 points. That was a recovery. The S&P 500 index and the NASDAQ were also in the red. Here's CNBC's Scott Wapner with CNBC contributor Jim Lebenthal on Halftime Report.
The market is trying to adjust to a new environment, one that it did not anticipate on election night. If you judge the president's commentary about Canada at face value, the market's trying to figure out what price is right.
Well put. And the market's also trying to figure out what the probabilities of a recession are. What we can say is directionally, the probability of a recession this year has increased over the past few weeks.
318 Research's Warren Pies had this to say on CNBC.
There's an old saying on Wall Street, the market will stop panicking when policymakers start panicking. And I think that's exactly where we're at right now. We're just waiting on some kind of policy response, either from the Fed or from the administration. I think that's going to be a little bit slow coming. And so, I don't think it's time to buy the dip just yet.
Job openings rose in January. Another indicator President Trump inherited a strong labor market. As the president returned to the White House for his second term, U.S. businesses posted 7.7 million vacancies. Southwest Airlines doing something it's never done before.
Southwest Airlines, bags no longer fly free. Wow.
What?
Yes.
Wow. I never.
Let me clarify this. They are going to charge for checked bags with the exception of their top tier passengers. So if you are paying Business Select or you are on that A list in the Rapid Rewards program, you will still get either one free bag or both bags fly free.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. Angry passengers posted on Reddit writing, "Private equity strikes again, and it's not love anymore." LUV. Kohl's shares plunged 15% on a rough outlook for the year ahead for that retailer. On today's watch list, one big thing, inflation. We get the latest on inflation for last month. The CPI comes out this morning, the Consumer Price Index. Inflation has been going up for 4 straight months. We'll find out this morning if it's 5.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, new wheels for POTUS after these messages. Welcome back, and thanks for listening. This is America in the Morning. After posting on Truth Social that he wanted to help Elon Musk, President Trump has bought himself a brand new Tesla. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
President Donald Trump has just bought a new red Tesla. That's the car company owned by Doge's Elon Musk.
I'm going to buy because, number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets. And number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this. So I think he's been treated very unfairly.
Tesla has been experiencing slumping sales and plunging stock prices, a blowback because of his work in downsizing the federal government. The Tesla Model S that Trump is buying retails for around $80,000, but Trump won't be sitting behind the wheel.
I'm not allowed to drive because I haven't driven a car in a long time, and I love to drive cars. But I'm going to have it at the White House, and I'm going to let my staff use it.
I'm Donna Warder.
The world's most recognizable golfer is dealing with another significant injury, one that will keep him from competing in the Masters. Correspondent Gethin Coolball reports.
Tiger Woods is out with another injury. Woods says he ruptured his left Achilles tendon and had surgery Tuesday morning. He did not offer many details. Woods says he was ramping up his practice when he felt a pain in his left Achilles. He says it was determined to be a ruptured tendon. Woods says he had minimally invasive surgery. Those involve a smaller incision and lead to a shorter recovery time. The injury is likely to keep him out of the Masters in April and perhaps even more major championships this year. I'm Gethin Coolball.
The 2025 Masters Tournament, April 10th through 13th at Augusta National Golf Course. America in the Morning for Wednesday, March 12th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The U.S. has lifted its suspensions of military aid and intelligence sharing for Ukraine. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Big cuts coming to the Department of Education. I'm Clayton Neville.
New information surfaces in January's Washington, D.C. plane crash, arrests at a New York City pro-Palestinian rally, and the USDA shuts off some state of Maine school funding. We'll tell you why.
An appeals court refuses to lift a block on President Trump's executive order to end birthright citizenship. I'm Bob Brown. That story just ahead.
YouTubers are getting hacked by Russian crypto miners. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. Here with America in the Morning. The prospect of some severe thunderstorms today could lead to some dangerous conditions. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A storm swinging out of the southwest and into the southern plains will bring a withering chance of showers to portions of mainly central Arizona, possibly even a few spots in New Mexico through the morning hours. But as this feature reaches better available Gulf moisture over eastern Texas later today, thunderstorms are expected to develop from the Arklatex area into eastern Oklahoma, heading eastward into some interior portions of the south overnight. These storms can become severe from the Dallas area and perhaps just north and east of Austin, Texas, into northern Louisiana, far northwestern Mississippi, and even southern Missouri, bringing hail and damaging winds. Otherwise, most of the eastern three-quarters of the country are likely to have a dry middle of the week, with large high pressure keeping rather warm conditions from the mid-Atlantic and much of the Midwest into the southeast. High temperatures may reach just the 60s for the Ohio Valley behind a cold front, but 70s and 80s are more likely to remain in place for many other spots. In fact, there may be some 90-degree readings around the Big Bend of Texas as strong westerly winds develop to pump in that warmth. Unfortunately, that wind direction will also bring in drier air, with an increased risk for fires that will last right through the remainder of the week, most substantial over West Texas and toward the Panhandle. In contrast with those dry conditions, the latest disturbance crashing on shore means the start of a wet period near and along the west coast, and at least some showers can be expected along the entire length of the coast today, with heavier, steadier rain most likely from southwestern Oregon to the San Francisco Bay Area, as heavy snow develops instead over the Sierra Nevada. The snow will be measured in feet through the Sierra, with 2 to 4 feet expected. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. success in Saudi Arabia as talks between Volodymyr Zelensky and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have led to Ukraine accepting a 30-day ceasefire and the resumption of U.S. military assistance. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the next step will be getting Russia on board, something President Trump says could happen when his administration meets their Russian counterparts as soon as the end of this week.
The U.S. has lifted its suspensions of military aid and intelligence sharing for Ukraine amid other developments during high-level talks in Saudi Arabia. It's a sharp shift from just a week ago when the administration imposed the measures to push Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky into peace talks. Ukraine now says it's open to a 30-day ceasefire in the Russia war.
We'll take this offering out of the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes, that they'll say yes to peace. The ball is now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who led the talks, says the U.S. will give the offer to Moscow.
We're going to tell them this is what's on the table. Ukraine is ready to stop shooting and start talking. And now it'll be up to them to say yes or no. I hope they're going to say yes. And if they do, then I think we made great progress. If they say no, then we'll unfortunately know what the impediment is to peace here.
At the White House.
I'll talk to Vladimir Putin, yeah. I want to get, look, that's the other, it takes two to tango, as they say, right? So hopefully he'll also agree. And I really think that would be 75% of the way. The rest is getting it documented and, negotiating land positions, etc.
So you'll talk to him this week about the deal?
So, yeah.
President Trump says he hopes to reach a deal in the next few days and may talk with Putin this week.
Well, I hope it'll be over the next few days. I'd like to see. I know we have a big meeting with Russia and some great conversations hopefully will ensue.
Zelensky says Ukraine has sought peace since the war started, and the guns will immediately fall silent if Russia signs on. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The Trump administration is seemingly following through on its pledge to cut the fat within the federal government. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports the latest cuts surround the Department of Education.
Demonstrators this week rallied in the nation's capital against plans to shut down the U.S. Department of Education. California Congressman Mark Takano was part of the protest.
Now that Donald Trump is president, they are making their move. He and the rest of Project 2025 and the Project 2025 crowd have installed Linda McMahon as what they hope will be the final secretary of the department.
But it's not a concept President Trump has denied or shied away from.
Oh, Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put herself out of a job. Education department.
He said that months ago.
I want the states to run schools, and I want Linda to put herself out of a job.
Linda McMahon this week announcing in a statement that half of the Department of Education is being laid off. She says the terminations are part of the department's final mission. She called the move a significant step toward restoring the greatness of the U.S. education system. Meanwhile, in the courts, a federal judge in Boston is blocking the Trump administration's plan to cut hundreds of millions of dollars for teacher training. States behind that lawsuit argued that Trump's proposed cuts surround his desire to get rid of DEI, and the judge ruled in favor of the states, saying the cuts are already impacting training programs aimed at addressing a teacher shortage. This is DOGE, led by billionaire Elon Musk, works to make government spending more efficient. The White House is pushing back on claims that Musk and DOGE plan to achieve their goals by cutting Medicaid, insisting that President Trump will not go that route. I'm Clayton Neville.
The National Transportation Safety Board is recommending a ban on some helicopter flights in the area where a military chopper and passenger jet collided near Washington, D.C. Correspondent Donna Warder conveys there have been a number of near misses between helicopters and passenger jets at Reagan National Airport.
At least one Traffic Alert and Collision Avoidance System, or TCAS, resolution advisory was triggered per month from 2011 through 2024 at DCA due to proximity to a helicopter.
National Transportation Safety Board Chairwoman Jennifer Homendy says many helicopters and planes are flying way too close in the area where a Black Hawk helicopter collided with a passenger jet in January, killing 67 people.
The existing separation distances between helicopter traffic operating on Route 4 and aircraft landing on runway 33 are insufficient and pose an intolerable risk to aviation safety by increasing the chances of a mid-air collision at DCA.
Homendy says choppers and planes can get as close as 75 feet from each other while trying to land at Reagan National Airport in Washington.
We're therefore recommending today that the FAA permanently prohibit operations on helicopter Route 4 between Haines Point and the Wilson Bridge when runways 15 and 33 are being used for departures and arrivals at DCA.
Homendy says
information gathered from voluntary safety reporting programs and the FAA regarding encounters between helicopters and commercial aircraft near DCA show that from 2011 through 2024, a vast majority of reported events occurred on approach to landing.
Donna Warder, Washington.
Among the stories we're covering next, more demonstrations at Columbia University and feds cut spending for the state of Maine. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. I'm John Trout. You're with America in the Morning. New York City police arrest at least a dozen pro-Palestinian demonstrators, some who were clashing with law enforcement. The New York Post reports those in support of former Columbia University student Mahmoud Khalil, who was recently taken into custody by ICE, were blocking a street when they were ordered to disperse, and some then fought with officers. Police warned the demonstrators, many who were wearing masks, to disperse numerous times before arrests began. A hearing will be held in federal court in Louisiana this morning for Khalil, who is facing deportation. The New York Civil Liberties Union is coming to the aid of Mahmoud Khalil and others involved in campus protests. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
The New York Civil Liberties Union says it's joining the legal team representing Mahmoud Khalil, a lawful U.S. resident who helped lead pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University. NYCLU Director Donna Lieberman.
Immigration law gives the federal government a lot of latitude, but it doesn't give them the latitude to run roughshod over our constitutional rights.
She says Khalil was exercising his First Amendment right to free speech, and that should not be conflated. Lieberman says Khalil's arrest cannot withstand constitutional scrutiny, but White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says it can.
They have been using intelligence to identify individuals on our nation's colleges and universities, on our college campuses, who have engaged in such behavior and activity.
And she says there will be more arrests. Julie Walker, New York.
Setback in court for the Trump administration following his executive order on ending birthright citizenship that a number of states are trying to block. Bob Brown reports.
We have to end it. A third appellate court on Tuesday continued to block President Trump's order to end birthright citizenship to children born to parents who are in the United States illegally. Trump, appearing on NBC's Meet the Press program shortly after his reelection, says he's determined to end the citizen clause to the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which was adopted in 1868.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an executive action?
We'll maybe have to go back to the people, but we have to end it. Three-judge appeals panel refusing to overturn the lower court's injunction, which found the states were likely to succeed in proving the order violated the Constitution. Trump says the law makes no sense. If somebody sets a foot, just a foot, 1 foot, you don't need to, on our land,
Congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States of America. Yes, we're going to end that.
Trump's executive order would for the first time deny more than 150,000 children born each year in the United States the right to citizenship. The president says he's confident the Supreme Court will rule in favor of the administration. I'm Bob Brown.
The Department of Agriculture is pausing funding to the University of Maine system, a network of 8 public colleges in the state. The Trump administration says the pause in funding comes as the USDA reviews potential Title IX and Title VI violations by the universities, amid the state's recent refusal to comply with the president's executive order to keep transgender athletes out of women's sports. Trump initially vowed to cut funding to Maine specifically if it continued to allow trans athletes to compete in girls' sports during a meeting of GOP governors at the White House last month. Shifting gears, here's another reason to have strong security for your computers. Cyber threat tracking company Kaspersky says there's a new threat to video content creators making the rounds and infecting systems. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech News.
Cybercriminals are blackmailing YouTube creators into adding malicious crypto mining malware onto their videos. Cybersecurity and malware company Kaspersky's SureList says there's been an uptick in cybercriminals. Leonid Bezvershenko, a security researcher from Kaspersky, said this particular malware has been around for a while, but a new technique of coercing YouTubers and influencers to add it to their videos shows how cybercriminals are evolving. The higher level of sophistication of these cyber attacks using this silent crypto miner is actually leveraging the Bitcoin blockchain network to distribute the malware by controlling a large network of bots. If you're a content creator, be sure to verify any requests to modify any software that you add to your channel. These bad actors request that you add software that is a copyright takedown request to coerce the content creator into adding the malware. You can find me at chuckpalm.com.
America in the Morning's Robert Workman has Wednesday sports.
The NBA's best, the Cavaliers, topped the Nets 109-104 for their 15th consecutive victory. If that sounds familiar, it's the second time Cleveland has won 15 in a row this season. Darius Garland had 18 of his game-high 30 points in the fourth quarter for Coach Kenny Anderson.
We needed him. Then I told him, I'm going to take you out to get you 2 minutes rest, and we couldn't take him out because he was playing so well.
Elsewhere, the Pacers stopped the Bucks 115-114. Tyrese Halliburton's 4-point play with 3 seconds left was the difference. Pelicans pounced on the Clippers, a triple-double for Zion Williamson, and the Pistons pounded the Wizards. Hockey, the Capitals down the Ducks 7-4 to maintain their spot atop the NHL standings. Alexei Protas had a hat trick, Alex Ovechkin 3 assists. The West-leading Jets kept pace, edging the Rangers 2-1. The NCAA basketball tournament slowly filling up its 68-team field. 4 more automatic bids secured last night. UNC Wilmington won the Coastal Athletic Association tournament. Robert Morris added the Horizon League tourney title to its regular season crown. Gonzaga took the West Coast Conference honors for the 11th time in 13 years, and in the Northeast Conference, it was St. Francis, the Red Flash from Pennsylvania, just 16-17 on the season, but they go to the NCAAs on a 6-game winning streak after beating Central Connecticut, which had owned the nation's longest active win streak at 14 straight. Champions will be crowned this evening in the Patriot League and the Big Sky and Southland conferences. Then we get 12 more automatic bids on Saturday and 5 on Sunday, along with 37 at-large teams to fill out the field. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, air pollution. The results of a new survey find the filthiest cities in the world after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. It could be a small world after all, but not everything's rosy for Snow White at Disney. Kevin Carr reports.
Disney has started out the week with some good news. Screenwriter Buck Woodall had sued the animation giant in 2020 for allegedly stealing elements for the hit film Moana.
We're going to the realm of monsters.
His script, Bucky the Wave Warrior, included a character disobeying his parents, saving a Polynesian island, and a demigod with a hook and tattoos.
It's a lot farther down than it looks.
On Monday, a jury in Los Angeles ruled for Disney, saying they did not have access to the script.
It's not entirely unpleasant.
Next, the streaming numbers for the latest Marvel television series, Daredevil Born Again, scored the best series debut of the year on Disney Plus, with 7.5 million viewers in the first 5 days.
I can't shake the feeling that you're gaming the system.
Daredevil already had a built-in audience from its run on Netflix from 2015 to 2018, so now Disney is hoping to goose the debut of Andor Series 2 next month.
I need all the heroes I can get.
The entire first season of the Emmy-nominated Star Wars prequel dropped on Hulu this week, as well as a freebie on YouTube.
They're so proud of themselves.
However, not all news is rosy for the Mouse House. They are scaling back the world premiere of the upcoming live-action Snow White adaptation with no journalists on the red carpet. This comes after months of problematic stories about the production, from casting complaints and social media controversies to its stars calling out the original 1937 film for being dated.
You know, I really don't remember you being this opinionated.
I'm Kevin Carr.
While you won't find the United States on the list, a number of nations around the world have air very unhealthy to breathe. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
Air quality group IQ Air has analysed data from 40,000 air quality monitoring stations in 138 countries and found that India had the dirtiest air. But experts say the real amount of air pollution might be far greater than currently thought due to the lack of widespread monitoring. In Africa, for example, IQ Air says there's only one station for every 3.7 million people. CEO Frank Hames says the study notes some improvements in some parts of the world.
Unfortunately, those improvements were relatively small. And we've seen that many parts of the world, including Pakistan and India, we're really very stagnant right now in terms of air quality.
While Fatima Ahmed, air pollution expert at Sunway Centre for Planetary Health in Kuala Lumpur, says there's now a wealth of research on health and air pollution.
Some air pollutants are classified as carcinogens, so basically cancer-causing.
The IQ Air report adds just 17% of cities globally meet air pollution guidelines. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The survey finds that 13 of the top 20 polluted cities in the world are in India, along with several from China. The most polluted countries in the world include India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. The nations with the cleanest air include Iceland, Australia, and Estonia. In the U.S., Los Angeles has the worst-rated air quality, while Seattle has the cleanest. America in the Morning for Wednesday, March 12th, 2025, is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.